Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Mighty Number 9. In the last part we took out several mighty numbers and got ourselves Dynatron's reselection to end off, so let's read what that's about. Electric Seed shoots bits out in an arc, sending a continuous surge of electricity into anything they stick to. They will attach to surfaces that cannot be attacked, and electricity will stop flowing to bits too far away from the player. Enemies destabilized while being shocked will cause the electricity to take on the same color as the appropriate Axel boost. On top of that, you can absorb enemies from a distance while they're being electrocuted. Axel shoot effects, longer shock time, penetrating shots, less energy use. There's points where this probably is very useful against mobs of enemies, but in boss fights, it's basically useless. To the point where I don't even really use it on the mighty number that's weak to it. So with this, we now have access to the DLC. I installed it between the recording for the previous stage and this stage. We're not going to do that until before the end game, though.
Mighty number 8, Countershade, appears to be leading a robot occupation of the Capitol building.
Yes, that's the business. This place must have its own power grid. Huh, where's Shade? Off playing hide and seek as usual. Fine, I'll look for him.
This is a very different stage from the others in how it's laid out, in that it kind of resembles one from Mega Man ZX Advent in specific. If you've ever played that, this is sort of like Argoyle and Ugoyle's stage.
Attention, Beck has arrived at the Capitol building.
The Capitol building? What would number 8 be doing there? Of all places!
A fine question indeed.
So our goal here is to find Countershade.
Sniper fire? I detect no robots in the area capable of long-range gunfire.
Mighty number 8 won't show up on any of your instruments. All part of my design. Beck, Shade is somewhere in the building. Trace the sniper fire back to its source.
So the reason I compare this to that stage in ZX Advent is that a portion of that stage was a gigantic circle that went around to itself. The same applies here. This is one gigantic circular building that you just need to find your target in and damage him before he flees and goes elsewhere. While you're searching for him, though, he is constantly firing volleys of sniper shots at you.
Run along now, little doggy. Run and fetch for your human masters.
He still has his sights on you, Beck. Be careful.
Dynatron's weapons actively more useful for damaging Countershade to make him flee to go to a different room to progress towards the boss fight than in the boss fight itself. Also, if memory serves, the faces in the background here are backers that paid, I want to say, like $2,500 each to have their faces in the game. I think so, at least. I know that was a reward.
Wondering what happened to all the humans here, little doggy? They ran away. Cowards. Every single one of those meat sticks fled at the first sign of trouble. Pathetic.
Notably, if you don't like a room that you're fighting Countershade in, you can just enter and leave and he'll move elsewhere, because there are several rooms you'll probably just never see, depending on your luck. Also, I have a feeling I don't need to do a big introduction for them, but the Countershade voice actor is Steve Bloom, who is one of the most prolific English voice actors, I think, period? But to name a few roles, Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop, Roger from Big O, Orochimaru from Naruto, for Star Wars fans, he's Zeb from Rebels, and for anime fans, period, who were watching a lot on Saturday nights on Cartoon Network in the States, he's just Tom for Toonami. You know him. You've heard him in things. He's all over the place.
See, I'm not the only robot tired of the status quo.
And damn does he put a good performance in here, even though he gets very few lines. Also, those webs there are instant kill. Be careful. This is a room I'd consider leaving if you're on a first-time run, for instance.
Maybe you can be content serving the whims of these flesh bags, but not me. My first executive order as the first robot president will be to set all bots free.
The sniper shots start pretty easy to avoid, but they do good damage, and there's also items that will just try to bounce them into you directly.
Need a little assistance, Spec? No problem. That's what big sisters are for. I'll just put it on my charge cards.
Okay, thanks, Dinah.
Did you like my pun? Number 2 gave you that one. I'll let you handle Shade yourself. Toodles!
I think what she just did there is removed some of the instant kill wire's ability to charge up, so thanks. I believe this room has some of the items I'm talking about. Yeah, there's one. Those circles right there, if you're within a certain radius of them, they will bounce any bullets that get bounced from Countershade's firings into you directly, even if it wouldn't make sense with the bounce otherwise. Now, for the most part, they're pretty easy to get around because there's going to be blocks that can literally block them, but in more open areas, be careful. This room's a little tense. Ultimately, once you've done enough damage to Countershade throughout these rooms, though, you get teleported to the final run for the boss fight.
Enough. It's time we settle this like robots. I'll meet you in my new office, little doggy.
I'm not certain if that takes a certain amount of rooms to do that, though, or just doing a certain amount of damage, period. I'd have to look into speedruns probably to figure that out for a fact. This fight's a little interesting.
Okay, now, little doggy. Let's see if you're all bark, or if you got some bite.
Listen to me, Shade! You're malfunctioning! Freedom doesn't require all this suffering!
Emancipation is worth any price, even if it costs human lives. Or yours.
So while Countershade is kind of aggressive in his attacks, he does so by going to one of the several perches and bouncing his shots around. And he can eventually, I believe, even throw in those very spheres from the stage that will bounce them into you. His weakness does work here, but it's very passive and requires an avoidance game and takes too long, I find. I would personally recommend you either use Battalion's missiles, because no shit, or especially brandish his sword here, because if you're fast about mashing, you can melt his health really quickly, even if each slash does less damage than any tick of Dynatron's weapon, because you'll probably get through it a little bit faster at the end of the day. Here's where he starts bouncing stuff around, but I fine played him. Fine play bonus, I believe, is specifically gifted for doing things that avoid bosses doing their attacks in certain ways. Usually, you get it for hitting them with their weakness in a certain way, but other times it is just doing a lot of damage very quickly. If you're going for any kind of higher ranks, you're probably going to get them anyway, or if you're playing the game quickly, you're going to get them a lot.
So, will the humans give you a special...
I'm playing this fight a little safe, admittedly, and a little slow because of it, because I am actively trying to not die. But, oh well, this is probably the hardest attack to judge on a first playthrough, where he actively shoots the shots into the foreground that will then bounce back toward you. The depth perception on that can be a little rough, and occasionally he'll also start throwing in clones. You can tell which one's a clone and which one isn't by looking at the color around them when they teleport in. The real Countershade has a green teleportation effect. The fake one has a pink one. On top of that, for the first moment after the teleport, the fake one does flicker a little bit, becoming a little more transparent.
Which is it?
Just look out for that and keep on slicing into his face, and eventually you'll win. Not the hardest fight in the game, but it can certainly be a little dangerous depending on your playstyle.
Come on! Snap out of it! Now!
I owe you one, don't I, Beck?
Mission clear.
I honestly like the boss fight here, but I'm not the biggest fan of this stage because structurally it's just not as interesting as the others because it's random which way you're going to go in this stage, essentially. And we get an alright ability for this. Countershade's reselection has power potential for random enemies in some very specific setups, but it's not the greatest for boss fights or anything, Toolkitty.
Oh, yes. Yes, Senator. Oh, yeah, our full resources are dedicated to resolving... Yes, sir. Oh, that's very wise of you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes. Idiot! Why are they hounding me about the problem and not torturing Blackwell to get the answer? This is twice that old goat has made me look like a fool! No! Cherry Dynamics, Gregory Graham speaking. Yeah, pleasure to hear from you, sir. Yes. Oh, yes, sir.
You can see the ideas for what they want to do in the story and the cutscenes here, but it feels like they just don't go deep enough on what they're trying to portray in each scene to make them feel worth it. For now, let's talk about Countershade's reselection. Reflect Shoot. Press the attack button to fire bullets that bounce off of surfaces and automatically home in on close enemies. You can fire up to 2 bullets at a time. Firing a third will make the oldest bullet disappear. The bullets usually fire horizontally, but you can use the back jump shot to fire an angled reflect shot. XL shoot effects, increased attack, less energy use, increased area of effects. This is good for damage on smaller enemies, but on anything larger, I would recommend Battalion or Brandish on the whole. I mostly only use it against the next boss fight in a couple of sparse platforming sections here and there.
Mighty Number 6, Aviator, has co-opted the television broadcast capabilities of this tower.
Beck, you there? Careful with these winds. They're throwing off my aim. Lost him again. I'm moving to get a better angle. Shade out.
This is probably my favorite Mighty Number design and personality in the game. It helps that they probably also talk the most out of all of them.
Beck has arrived at the tower. Mighty Number 6 must be transmitting from the apex.
Sorry to make you climb it on foot, Beck, but it's all part of the plan.
So this stage is the only vertically structured stage in the game. Instead of going left to right, we're going bottom to top of a gigantic tower. There are going to be some bottomless pits in this stage, but I'd say they're not too many more than your average stage we've done thus far already. Counting spike pits as bottomless pits, in that case at least. The bigger annoyance is just falling and having to redo platforming, honestly.
Testing, check 1, check 2, siblings. And now, live from Aussie News World Headquarters, continuing coverage of Nation in Crisis. As you can see, the robot rampage is not letting up. It's chaos out here. Chaos. Will this be the end of our proud republic, or will a hero emerge to save the day? Whatever happens, Aussie News will be there. Your #1 source for ethical journalism. We report, and you there do whatever you want with it. Until next time, good night and good luck.
That's Mike Wingert as Avi, by the way, who is the voice for Po and Kung Fu Panda and anything that's not the movies. He was recently the Talking Flowers in Super Mario Wonder, and he was also Tony Stark in a lot of the 2010s animated stuff and games and all that. And here we have a secondary, I guess technically tertiary mechanic for the stage besides vertical platforming and bottomless pits. Wind platforming. With that said, it's not too strong.
Beck, grab that hula heli hoop to board the airship and ride it to the top. Your plan is working perfectly, Will. You'll be safely up the tower in no time.
Don't count your atoms before they're smashed, Sonda. Look, he's been spotted.
So now we have a bit of a mini-boss that kind of resembles some of the ones from Mega Man ZX and ZX Advent. We have some cannons we need to take out on these ships before they start throwing stuff at us. Battalion's missile is, as usual, pretty ridiculous here, because it allows you to target basically every portion you can attack at once. Admittedly, I am kind of falling into a similar trap to what happens in a lot of other games of this style, particularly in Mega Man, where there's usually just that one weapon that's absurdly good. But given the speedrunny nature and score attack that Mighty Number 9 has going on, it feels like it's what they really kind of intend you to do, unfortunately.
And now, Avi News traffic from the Avi 1 Eye in the Sky traffic copter. Avi! We have an accident about to happen on the airship, Avi. A piece of trash causing trouble. What? I mean, breaking news. The piece of trash brought a friend and he's no fun at all!
Couldn't get a beat on Avi, kid. Have to leave him up to you.
He must go now. His planet needs him. Now, some of the scenes with the other Mighty Numbers, I'm not sure if they actually happen at all if you don't have them there. Like, I actually don't remember, because it's been a while since my first playthrough. I don't remember if Countershade shows up there at all. Or obviously he doesn't if you haven't done a stage yet, but I'm not sure if that scene with Avi happens at all if you didn't fight Countershade. And frankly, I don't want to put in the extra playthroughs to figure that out. I, at most, want to play this game maybe 3 more times in my lifetime. At most. Whether or not I go for trophies in this one, I've yet to honestly know. Because admittedly, my rarest trophies at the moment on PlayStation Network are all from this game. In fact, in recording this LP, I got like 2 or 3 more that made it, like, dominate my top 5 rarest. Which is both funny to me and also very sad. This section can be a little dangerous.
This just in, bad guys spotted on the west side of the radio tower. Bots are in pursuit. Now to Avi for the weather. Thanks, Avi. We've got strong winds out there today. Be careful.
So I just did the very risky thing by actually dashing up there with Brandish. I would recommend just swapping to Beck's native Buster and firing back there to take out the 1 box. Because just trying to hang on the box and attack the enemy from there, that is precarious in retrospect. I just know I can do it because I pulled it off in my practice runs for this particular stage. Because yeah, when I did the live stream recording for this, I played through every stage about 2 or 3 times beforehand just to get a good jot down of what the stage was like in my memory, and then tried to get through it as efficiently as I could in as few deaths as possible. Essentially not too different from how I do my LPs off of live stream, but the live format did mean I was limited a little bit in what I could do for between recordings. Coming up, though, is a section I'm not sure if I do it the way they intend you to, but it's the easiest way for me to do it. We're going to have vertical wind. It's going to be pushing you up, so your jumps can now rise to the sky. But I noticed on my first playthrough, if you dash during these sections, you just continuously ascend, so you can completely ignore the platform they want you to do here. I'm assuming they didn't realize that you could do this and just never patched it. Or they realized way too late and were like, let's just leave it. It's safer, honestly, in the long run. It honestly just kind of looks funny. Not too many opportunities in the game you can actively use this, though. I can only think of 2 rooms in the game that have this. For that, though, it's time for us to head up to the boss fight.
And now, live from atop RV News headquarters, continuing coverage of Tower of Terror! And now to Avi for the weather. Thanks, Avi. We got strong winds out there today. Be careful! Moments before he fell to his tragic death. Ooh, sorry, Beckham. Your segment is getting cut.
Avi as a boss fight's really fun, especially with his weakness, because they actively take advantage of the fact you need to bounce the shot off of something for it to hit him. Hence why he has that little extra that's around that you can destroy. Additionally, you can also use the platforms to bounce off, meaning a lot of tight angles you can just hit him before he even gets a chance to attack. Attack-wise, he can fire his own buster at you in several different directions, going up and down the screen. He can hide in the background and do a barrage fire with his chain guns that you need to kind of dodge continuously around. He can drop the bombs that he has on his shins that will do some decently large explosions. The bigger threat here is knockback, because Beck does suffer a Mega Man / Belmont level of knockback, where he gets knocked back a good 3-4 feet whenever he gets hit. And there are cases in the game where that can very easily knock you off of platforms, and this is one of those. Thankfully, the vertical wind is there, so it's hard to fall to your death here without actively mashing the button, but be careful all the same. The more annoying thing in this fight is that it's very easy to accidentally miss a timing for getting all of his health down in one shot, so you have these little extraneous phases where you need to just reduce his HP one more time, but oh well.
Come on! Snap out of it! Now! Is that you, Beckles? What are you doing up here?
Mission clear.
This stage can be a little scary if you're afraid of bottomless pits just inherently, but on the whole it's not too bad, and I honestly like this boss fight a good bit. This is probably my favorite stage in the game on the whole, now that I think about it, I guess. And we get probably my 3rd favorite reelection for doing this. Aviators is really fun to use because it works as both an attack and a mobility upgrade in a way I find very enjoyable. So let's go read its tooltips so you can know the exact lowdown on it. And that's also going onto that shortcut permanently. Setup. Hold down the attack button to wield a large propeller above your head. Your jump height increases and descent speed slows when the propeller is out. You can also block falling objects above you. Gyro Boomerang. Release the attack button to throw your propeller. The blades will rise in a zigzag pattern, then return to the player. You can only wield one propeller at a time. If you press the attack button after releasing the propeller blades, they will immediately return to the player. Axel shoot effects, increased attack, less energy use. So it's sort of a spin-off of the Gyro Boomerang from Mega Man 5. I like this a lot, more so for its mobility toolkit than its actual attack toolkit, though. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 4, we're going after, get this, more mighty numbers. See you guys then.